forum.
All right, well, welcome everybody. It's Tuesday, August 17th to our monthly North Tabor Neighborhood Association meeting. We were just talking about the weather. This is a call to order. Anybody doing introductions this time? Let me maximize my video again. Do we have any people where it's your first time here?
Yeah, my name is Phil Colombo and I write for the Hollywood Star Development News.
Oh, neat. Is that like a little, like a local print paper?
It covers about 20 neighborhoods in North and Northeast Portland, and Tabor North is one of them.
That's great. Well, welcome. Well, and then I recognize most of your faces. And David, have you been around before? Oh, and you're still getting your thing set up.
I saw your sign walking through the neighborhood a few months ago, and I ran across my note. I've been meaning to check it out.
Oh, well, I'm glad those signs worked. It's wonderful. I always see the one on, I think it's on 47th. I always drive by this one. And I'm glad it worked. Well, welcome folks. I'm CJ. I'll be the co-chair, but my fellow co-chair will be out for this session and the next session, I believe. So I'll be kind of moving us along. I mean, yeah, and then other people can introduce themselves as they're talking for the first time. That might be a good idea. So let's see what is first on the agenda for today. Approval of the, hold on, July minutes? Was that the last?
Yeah, it should be July, and
Jacob, I'm having trouble with my mic.
Oh, was that you, Kimbra? I heard someone say they had trouble.
Yeah, that was Kim. I heard her okay.
Yeah, I heard they had trouble.
Oh, crap. Yeah, behind me, yeah.
Now I hear the trouble.
Yeah. I was just ready to hop.
Well, you'll get that sorted, Kim. In the meantime, yes, I introduce approval of the July minutes. Oh yes, thank you, Kim. Let me mute you for right now. Or actually, I can't. I don't know if Keith can.
Okay, I need a headphone.
Oh, thank you.
I resent the minutes out that Stephanie took last month, so I don't know if anybody's got any questions.
Take a quick look.
They look good to me.
Yeah, the minutes were fine.
And well, if that is the case, then I guess I'm open to entertain a motion to approve them.
I move that we approve the minutes from the July meeting.
Second.
There's a second? Okay, there's a second. Then I think that is approved.
We have to vote on it.
But we can vote, we'll need to vote.
Oh.
I'm abstaining since I wasn't here last month.
Oh, that's right, that's right. So seconded, and then all in approval, say yay or hold up your hand. All right, and then all opposed, say nay.
Not opposed.
And then abstain.
Abstain? Anybody else abstaining?
I will abstain as well. I was not in attendance.
Okay.
Thank you. Let me know when it's good to move on, Sarah.
Okay.
All right. Are we good to?
Yeah, we can move on.
Well, thank you. The next thing we had, I just lost it. Oh, the treasurer's report. Is that you, Patty?
Yep, that's me. We have the same amount of money in the bank that we did last time. 3,033.98.
Wow.
Got that, Sarah?
I did. I just carried it over from last month and then I was gonna just edit it, so we're good. And then, so the DOJ check hasn't cleared yet?
It did.
Oh, it did clear, okay.
Yeah.
I'll take that note off here.
And that was the, was that the communications? The little grant that you're talking about? The DOJ?
We have to do a filing every year with the DOJ as a nonprofit organization, and that's
Oh.
the fee to be listed. So that,
And I did get some paperwork from Southeast Uplift about some projects. Hold on a second.
Sure.
It was about the fiscal sponsorship, but we haven't done anything this year, so I don't think we have to send anything in.
Mhm.
I might have to get together with Sarah just to second that, but
okay,
yeah, we haven't done any project and we don't have any in the works, so,
not that I know of.
right, okay. I'll get together with you, Sarah, and you can help me look at this. And
Yeah, we're kind of pretty much around, not Labor Day weekend, but we're around
yeah, I'll
since,
get a
you know,
hold of you out of this meeting,
no more
okay?
travel till school, or because school's coming up.
All right, thank you.
And then nothing from. Go ahead, CJ, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were going to say something, Sarah, but yeah, the next thing after that, and Patty mentioned Southeast Uplift.
Well, we kind of need to approve the agenda, I think. Did we approve the agenda yet?
No, we can.
All right. If
No, we
anybody-
need it. We should approve it's kind of weird how we do this. We have to approve the agenda. Then, like, you call to order, we do our introductions, and we should then approve our agenda and then approve the meeting minutes, and then we can kind of get down into business. So
Oh, so we approve the agenda that we are currently using.
exactly. It's
Okay.
kind of, yeah, we have to do it. I feel like it's redundant, but yeah, we have to officially approve it.
Well, I guess for my part, I don't know the exact language you might, Robert, but I think it's like entertain a motion or.
Well, yeah, okay. I mean, I will entertain a motion, or I will move that we approve the agenda as published in this email.
And
Wait
is
a
there a
sec.
second?
Second.
All right.
And then ask all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All in,
All opposed?
yeah, the other, I can't remember.
Any opposed?
Opposed, thank you. No, and all abstaining. Okay, it looks like the agenda is approved.
Here we are, Kim.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't see you anymore, Kim, but I can hear you.
She's there. I see her.
They've joined twice, once with audio.
Oh,
once
I
with
see,
video.
I see. Okay, yeah, it's working. Yes, so then that being done, next is do we have a Southeast Uplift update this month? I can't remember if we had anybody assigned who was
We
able to.
don't have a representative, so we don't have one, and
Okay. Well, we'll try to get that sorted out for next time.
well, we need to replace Stephanie.
Yes, it's true.
Hey,
A question, is Stephanie just stepping down from the
Yeah.
Southeast Uplift, or is she
No.
stepping down from the whole board?
She's stepping down from the board.
For the whole board?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Thank you for that clarification.
Stepping out of the board.
Right.
I'm closing this one. 'cause they'll
I
get
know
confused.
we- Hi, Lars. And I know
hi, sorry. We were there twice and now here we are. So,
now you're here. I hear you loud and clear.
so, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, did we, I feel like we addressed it last time a little bit, the Southeast Uplift, like find a new representative, but we kind of leave it
I'm aware.
confirmed.
Didn't see any approval of the new person, so.
Yeah, I reached out to a few people that I thought might be interested, and I didn't get any responses from them yet. So it's not looking likely. And then I was weighing whether or not I could do it. And at this point, I'm just not comfortable with my workload and stuff like that. I just don't have a lot of extra time. So I would love to, but I just can't put it in.
Jules, I'm kind of with you. I mean, maybe later, but right now, kind of family is taking my bandwidth.
Lisa, would you like to be our Southeast Uplift representative going forward?
No.
Okay, yes. That's where we were when you
okay.
arrived.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Well, and I'll table that. If we have some time at the end, we can maybe make a little move to add that to the new business, but
okay.
Table that for the moment. And then the communications update, Jules or Keith?
Yeah, so had a newsletter go out, I believe it was Wednesday last week. Overall open rate was at right around 60%, which is pretty great. 30% of those folks clicked, so that's good. We've had a little bit of growth over last month. I think we have I don't know, a handful of new subscribers, so that's good. Not necessarily the growth I'd like to see yet, but we're getting there steadily but surely. So that's good. Yeah, so I'm not sure, kind of just a recap of what was in the newsletter. Did a lot of kind of the closed sidewalk initiative too, to kind of make sure people are aware of that so they could get gatherings outside, as well as kind of try to prompt some of the Pedalpalooza things as those are starting to wrap up for the summer. And also looking at the kind of, again, the kind of the PDOT, like roads closed, the park block or the closed block things. So it seems like people are really interested in that, clicking around a lot on that. So overall, that was great. Again, would love anybody's specific ideas for next time around. Would love to get ideas by Friday the 10th. And for the newsletter to go out on the 14th.
Jules, I have a question. Would you, I mean, this is my idea right now, just because people's gardens are kind of producing probably lots of cucumbers and zucchinis. I've got a couple family recipes I can toss out there. If you have extra zucchini, you might want to try this.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Or I have a great my grandmother's relish recipe, and I thought I'd get that from my sister, and I'll send it over to you. Just kind of a little saying, it's like a little idea. Hey, you're extra gardener, maybe try this in your foray into canning.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Okay, I'll get those over to you for a newsletter. You can use them wherever.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I think that's kind of one of the things I had on my radar as people's gardens are starting to produce. There are kind of like a lot of kind of in the vein of like the little libraries, people are starting to kind of, just share their bounties with the neighborhoods. So I was looking for any kind of specific things around that as well. So I like the idea of also doing recipes too. Like, what do I do with all this friggin' zucchini?
Exactly.
Yeah, and all of Ross's squash.
Another thing might be a seed exchange thing, to just do a little write-up to have a seed exchange, because if you have a lot of zucchini or whatever, you could do a seed exchange that would help people, and maybe even community gardens.
That's a good idea. Yeah, I don't find a whole lot of like community garden info boards or bulletins anywhere. I know that I think those, I just haven't been able to find them, because I know like
do one. Actually, I did the little library one. I could do a community garden one, because I do know of some, I've lived here for 60 years, so I do know of some community gardens. So I could do a maps and put it, a link to you guys to put on the newsletter for community gardens.
That would be great.
I'll do that.
That would be great. And if they have like any, and if you know about those, any particular gardens that are doing any activities, especially around kind of this harvest period, I think that would
I
be
don't know
awesome.
any that have been, just because of everything's
Yeah.
been so weird, but I can look into it. I'll
Awesome. That
do
would be
that.
wonderful. Thank you
Okay.
for doing that.
And we might want to think about adding in some of the info about the slow streets installations that we're going to talk about later in this meeting. We can put that in the next newsletter for people who didn't attend.
Yeah. And that's that's what we're talking about tonight.
Right.
And that sounds great. I love that we put together a lot of harvest themed food episode of the newsletter. And for anyone who's new, Phil and David, and Phil especially, our newsletter is, we have the monthly emailed out newsletter. And then we usually submit something to the Examiner, the Southeast Examiner. Is that right?
Yeah, we do that every month. And the deadline's like the 24th, I believe, this month. I don't have it in front of me, but if you guys have any ideas, please send those to me and I will write something up and get it to them.
Cool. Yeah, and
I'm
then,
on the email list, so I guess
oh, cool.
that's why I'm here.
Oh, thank you. It worked. Thank you, Phil. Yeah, it'll be interesting to overlap and see what the intersection is between the Hollywood Star and the Examiner and the newsletter and how it all works together.
So I have a question that's, I think, related to communications in that for a while there was a person in the pocket over there and they were going to do a street painting project, and Sarah should know all about this. And I think that it kind of got stalled, and I'm not sure if it's back online, if there was communication related money for something like that, like putting flyers on people's doors or whatever, then that would be a legitimate way to spend our communications money. I'm not sure that, other than we pay, the fee for our website and that sort of thing, I don't know if we've been spending enough money to really even spend everything that we've been given by the city, which was, I don't know, $500 or something. This year.
Okay, I'll mention that because I just got an email. I don't have an update yet on it kind of got stalled because the area where they wanted it, one of the folks didn't want it. And so we're looking for an alternative intersection, which I think they might have gotten all approval for that. So I think they're shooting for a September date. But I can't, and then I saw Paul, or let me look here in my email real quick. I got an update. In the pocket, there's going to be a block party, September 11th. So I don't know.
Sarah, can I interrupt to say
go ahead.
We did get a note from him about this party he was having. Wanted us to talk about it. It was suggested that we try to reach out to those people and get them on our board because they want our support. They want our money support. They want all these things, but you're the only person over there that even comes here.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
And Greg said that he knew one of those gentlemen. So he was thinking of reaching out, but
yeah, that's good. Because I've been trying to get people to come too. So,
we need a new Southeast rep,
right.
And
I will
always be us doing the same thing.
Right. So I'll email back to that group and see if I can get somebody. It's like somebody's interested, and it's like, I know some of the people that are kind of heavily involved with this organization, I know have been out of town recently. And so I'll hook back up and see if I can get some more folks to attend our meeting and to participate. So anyway.
I have an idea that I think might be good for the newsletter that would also help get people more interested in reading it, is maybe if we did I know school's not in yet, but maybe in September if we do a pumpkin drawing contest with the kids at like Mount Tabor, and then have like that featured on the October newsletter and give out of the communications a prize of $25 or something. I think that kids then would be interested, parents would be interested, and it might help spur more memberships if they see us doing stuff to build community with the schools and the kids. Just an idea.
Yeah,
and if you're interested, I could contact the school as soon as they're in session. And
Already, I believe the secretaries are already back, so you could probably call the office and
Okay.
ask for the art teacher. I can't remember, it might be a different person. I don't know who's over there.
Are you
I
talking
can
Glencoe
call-
or Mount Tabor?
and Glencoe maybe, and have like a
Yeah, you can definitely,
$25 one for the element. I forget. Glencoe is first through.
it's K through fifth.
Yeah.
K through
And
fifth.
then a $35 one or something for the Mount Tabor middle school kids. That way I think we get a lot of interest, for kids. And then if you have kids interested, you've got parents interested usually. It's just an idea. So if you want me to, I will contact the school and see if we could get something going.
I would point out, I mean, monetary prizes might be able to come out of our kind of general fund, but I don't think you can use communications money for that.
Okay.
So we do have to check, and then there might be something more appropriate than just, $25. Maybe there's, I don't know, something else that we could think of.
$1,000.
We are going to have to think about the fact that this year, other than communications money, we've had no income in this because we're still riding on the last cleanup, which was like 2.5 years ago now. And so in the future, we and all the neighborhood associations who used to depend on that cleanup money have a problem. And so I don't know how that's going to be dealt with the new regime there, in ONI or whatever it's called now, Civic Life. But still, anyway, it's something we have to think about. But your suggestion is a good one to have something to engage people. We just have to be careful about giving money to individuals.
So what I'd really like to use some of that budget for is to do a lead generation Facebook campaign, which is getting people signed up for the email. But in order for me to do that, we need to do some dev in terms of on the website to have a formal contact page. So I think because it's tricky, or I can do it through MailChimp, but because we have kind of a free membership happening with MailChimp, I can't get access to that sign up form. So we're going to have to work around that. So if we can, maybe Keith and I, if we can get together and troubleshoot that aspect, then I can use some of that funds to do kind of an ongoing Facebook campaign to get signups.
Right. Can you email me later with getting started with content for the landing page? Because it's easy enough to make a page. I just don't know what to put on it.
Is the MailChimp thing that if you paid for whatever a subscription is, that then you'd be able to do what you need to do? Because if it's not too outrageous, we could just use some communication money.
Yeah, it's pretty outrageous is the thing. So we have the landing page, Keith, that you can utilize to put into the site, and you can get that from the MailChimp stuff, and I can send you that. But what I am needing a direct API key to put into the Facebook advertising, and I can get into more detail with that. So because we can't have that through MailChimp, we're going to have to do that somehow through the website.
Okay.
So,
sure. Send me an email with information about that. If it's just adding a page, that's easy. If it's requiring API keys to be entered somewhere, that'll probably require a plugin to be installed or something. And I don't know the details of what that will take yet, but we can figure it out.
Okay, sounds good. So do we want to shoot to have this resolved by next month? So coming into September, we can get some lead generation ads going.
Yeah, I think we should.
Okay.
Yeah, but make sure to just send that over to me.
Sounds good.
I remember to look into it. I knew that you had talked about a landing page before, but I didn't know what was involved.
Great. Well, thank you, folks. And we can always come back to that if there's a little bit more. But I wanted to introduce Emily Coleman, who is going to be representing Transition Projects tonight and giving us a presentation on I can't remember what we put in the agenda. I just put presentation. I'm sure it's going to be great. I'll let you take it away.
I don't know if anybody's familiar with Transition Projects. We are an organization that's been around in Portland for about 50 years, and we are the largest provider of shelter and services for adults experiencing homelessness in Portland. So we just periodically like to sort of visit with neighborhood associations, particularly those that are bordering some of our programs, share a little bit about the work that we do, and ways that folks can get involved, also give you a chance to ask questions or share whatever. So I'm really glad to have the opportunity to talk to you all tonight. So yes, my name is Emily Coleman. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the volunteer program supervisor at Transition Project. So I have the great privilege of overseeing all of the amazing folks who come and volunteer at our 8 shelters, resource center, and 2 administrative programs. So we're all over town at this point. And I have a bit of a slideshow. We usually use Teams, so let's see how well versed I am. Oh, I can't screen share. Is that a thing that I can do, or would I not be able to do?
Can you make Emily a co-host? I think we'll be able to get
working on it.
Okay, yeah, we're getting that set up for you.
Cool. My wonderful colleagues in communications have made a beautiful slideshow. Lots of heartwarming pictures.
In the meantime, why do we say TPI? What's the I for?
Officially, we are Transition Projects Incorporated as of 1971.
Okay.
So all of our clients know us as TPI, and so do a lot of folks in the community. Of course, my colleagues in development and marketing have been fighting that for decades. Transition Projects we're trying to be, but yeah, colloquially, we've always been known as TPI.
And that is how we know you as well.
Yep, that's just the ink.
Emily, you should be able to share your screen now.
Marvelous. Thank you so much. Okay, hopefully that's working.
Yep.
There we go. Okay. Transition Project. So obviously it sounds like most of you are fairly familiar with us, at least, big picture. We exist as an organization to hopefully put ourselves out of business. We work to try and help folks at wherever they are along the spectrum of homelessness to try to end that homelessness and help them find and maintain permanent housing. We've been around for, again, over 50 years. We were founded in 1969. And as you likely know, we have grown as necessary to try and meet the needs of the community. So what we do to try and address homelessness here in town, street outreach is a feature that we added, or a program that we added about 8 years ago. As we started to realize that more and more folks are living unsheltered on the streets. And we wanted a way to try and connect with those folks who weren't coming in to access services. So we have an absolutely awesome team of outreach specialists who are out in the field every single day, trying to build relationships with those folks and encourage them to connect to services, provide real basic supplies. They go out with whatever camping gear we've had donated, bottled water and sunscreen and things like that during the summers, obviously hand warmers and things like that during the winters, and try to connect people from the streets to shelter, to housing, and to whatever other supports that they need. We also, every single member of that team actually is somebody who has lived experience of homelessness, so can really relate to the folks that they are working with, and can honestly say, I have been where you are and I know it can get better, which has helped them to build a lot of good rapport and relationships with those folks. Our resource center is in Old Town, where for a long time homeless services have been centered. This is in the Bud Clark Commons building, right at Irving and Broadway, at the foot of the Broadway Bridge. And the resource center is basically the jumping off point for services. So most folks, if you wind up in Portland on the streets, you are going to hear about this site and go there to get your most basic needs met. So this is a space where people can come in to use a bathroom, get a shower, a change of clothes, do their laundry, get a haircut, pick up their mail. We serve as a mailing address for 6,000 people in Portland. So there's a secure place to receive mail. We've got lockers that people can store their things in while they are off to appointments or work. As you can imagine, this site looks a little bit different right now. We continue to offer all of those services, but at a much reduced capacity. So we have fewer people inside at any given time accessing those services. Gone are the condensed chairs and the sort of respite space. So one thing to think about, this past 18 months, obviously has been hard on absolutely everybody, but particularly for folks on the streets. They have had very few indoor spaces where they could come in and just rest their bones in a space that they are welcome. So that's something that we are missing and that they are missing. And it's been, I think, emotionally wearying for a lot of people having to be outside for so long. That's also the site where folks would get on the wait list or get a reservation for one of our shelters. So we operate right now 8 permanent shelter sites. We serve adults only, so all of our shelters are 18 and up for individuals. We were actually the first organization in the country to open couples shelters, though, not specifically for families with children, but for adult couples to stay together. We also welcome pets at all of our shelters. That was a big barrier to a lot of folks coming into shelter who didn't want to leave behind a partner or a pet. So all of those sites are accommodating of pets, and 5 of the 8 shelters now have dedicated couple spaces. By the way, you likely know we operate the Banfield Shelter Motel, which is very close to your neighborhood. We took that over just over a year ago. And so out of the Banfield Value Inn, right on the other side of 84. So that's still the newest shelter to us. But that was a safe site for folks, particularly medically vulnerable clients, to safely shelter where they'd be less at risk of catching COVID in a congregate shelter environment. So that is what we've been using the Banfield for, which has been a great benefit to those clients. We also are the primary operator of severe weather shelters. So in the winter, when it gets below 25 degrees or when it starts to snow, we're going to open severe weather shelter sites. And we usually open an extra winter shelter that operates just November through April every single year to get extra folks inside during those months. Obviously, our end goal with everybody is housing. That said, what we're usually talking about when we talk about trying to get people into housing, and at each of those shelters, folks are going to be working with a housing case manager, with a wellness specialist, with an employment specialist to try and overcome those barriers and get into housing. A lot of it's going to be market rate housing or through partners like Central City Concern or Home Forward, but we do operate a few facilities of our own, one of which is a pretty innovative program called Argyle Gardens that opened in the Kenton neighborhood just a year ago. This was 72 units of deeply affordable housing and a kind of innovative design with sort of a co-housing model, 6 single units built around shared living areas. So we hope it will be a way to sort of reduce the social isolation that a lot of clients feel on moving from street or shelter into like the single room occupancy apartments that are often the next step for a lot of folks. And then 2 other housing facilities that we've operated for some years are clean and sober facilities for clients in recovery, the Barbara Mayer in North Portland and Clark Center Annex in Southeast Portland. I mentioned our wellness services. We're not a medical provider. We work primarily to help connect people to the medical services that already exist around town. But at each of those sites, we have wellness access specialists who will help connect them to those resources, be it dental, vision, medical, mental health, or recovery resources. And we also have peer health navigators. Those folks also always have lived experience of homelessness who will go with you to the appointment, go with you to the drugstore, really try to knock down any barriers that folks might have to accessing care and taking care of themselves. And it makes it a lot more approachable to deal with the kind of scary behemoth of the medical system when you've got a friend to go with you. And of course, we want to make sure that folks are able to actually keep their housing. So once we've placed somebody in permanent housing, retention case managers help them to retain that housing. So we've got a large team that works specifically with folks in housing to help them keep that. Whether that's just regular check-ins to make sure they're doing okay. In some cases, we might be able to provide rent or utility assistance to help folks keep that housing. And a lot of what we do is community building stuff, helping make sure that they know that they haven't lost that support network and that they've still got, a place they can come and do things and see people. We're also the largest provider of services for veterans in the area. We serve hundreds of veterans every single year, and we'll be hosting the Portland Veterans Stand Down. This will be our 7th year hosting that event. September 10th, that's coming up, and we're still hoping it can be an in-person event, but changes day by day right now. But that's a great way that we're able to connect veterans at risk of homelessness with resources and supports that they might need to help get back on their feet. And as of course, I'm sure you know, veterans do tend to be a much higher percentage of people experiencing homelessness, not just here in Portland, but everywhere. We are also the developer and owner of the curriculum for a program called Rent Well, which is a pretty amazing tenant education program where over the course of 30 hours, folks essentially learn their rights and responsibilities as a tenant so that they know better how to handle potential tricky rental situations, what to do when you get a 30-day notice so that you can, hopefully get out of that situation, either keep your housing or get out of it with a referral or, something that's not such a negative strike on your record. It also teaches people essentially what barriers they're up against for housing and how to explain those and try to mitigate those to a certain extent to make themselves a more viable candidate for housing and a more successful candidate for housing. There are, of course, lots of ways that folks can get involved should you be so inclined. And of course, this is my wheelhouse as the volunteer program supervisor. We do have a lot of individual roles. We've got folks who are helping out in the mailroom in our resource center, both helping us to sort and file those thousands of pieces of mail arriving every day, and also just to hand it out to clients. So that's a fairly direct service role. We rely on folks to help us sort and allocate donated resources, clothing, linens, hygiene items to all of those programs. We've got folks who lead activities in shelter, and that's something that I know Banfield has been getting very excited about the possibility of now that we're starting to welcome that back in very small group activities, primarily outside right now. But we've had a Tai Chi group going at the Banfield Shelter Motel for the last month, I think, and that's going really well. But I know that they'd love more art and craft activities and things like that if anybody is in that. Is so inspired. Always looking for volunteers for special events and for things like severe weather shelters. So there's lots of on-call roles where people can support this community of people experiencing homelessness as you are able and as your schedule allows. Definitely gardening at Banfield as well. We just had a wonderful corporate group build us some garden beds. So we've got the start to a good garden at that site that I know they would love some support maintaining. The biggest part of our volunteer program, and certainly the biggest need, is our meal provider program. We actually rely on volunteer groups to essentially adopt a shelter every single night of the year and provide a dinner for all of the residents. So the biggest part of my job is trying to find 8 groups every single night who can feed each of those 8 shelters. And that is a way that a number of neighborhood associations have gotten involved, as well as things like business groups, churches, or even just family and friends, where if you rally enough folks to cook a meal for the 60 residents over there, that could be your dinner night. So we've got a lot of folks who do that sporadically, sometimes on a regular weekly or monthly date. But that can be a really fun team building experience to get to, come together to cook and then bring a meal to a shelter and serve it to the residents. A lot of our groups will sit down and join them afterwards. A little bit less so right now, though we're looking towards, again, hopefully one day getting to that in-person part again. Right now, we've got groups primarily dropping food off at shelters. But again, if that's something that your group would ever be interested in trying, as Banfield is our newest site, it is definitely the highest need there. It takes a while to build up enough of a volunteer network to cover 30 nights a month on meals. We do focus primarily on dinners for meal providers, as that's when most of the residents tend to be around and eager for a good meal that will help them get a good night's sleep. And we partner with the food bank for basic supplies that are easy for us to use for breakfasts. And we have a community partner right now doing some lunches for that site. But that is definitely something we'd love it if you were interested in trying. And right now, a lot of folks are sort of doing that potluck style. If you get 6 to 8 people to sign up to each do an entree for 20, a side dish for 30, a dessert for 30, it's really easy to pull together a pretty big meal, even from a home kitchen. If anybody is interested in any of those volunteer opportunities, please do check out our website where you can see some information about our volunteer orientations, which we offer twice a month virtually right now. Some of those positions are just something you can get onto a list for. Some would require that full orientation and screening. We definitely also host an awful lot of events that we'd love to have community members at. Again, a little bit less so right now, but hopefully at some point we'll be able to do some sort of neighborhood event at Banfield where we might be able to welcome our peripheral neighborhood associations. And we also, of course, love it when groups host events for us. Whether you want to hold a donation drive, a third-party fundraiser, something like that, just to sort of help raise awareness and support for your neighbors experiencing homelessness. And of course, donations always in need. Just in case you were not aware, all of our shelter sites do accept donations. So should you ever be cleaning out your closet and have some seasonal good condition items that you wish to donate, adult clothing items, linens, hygiene items that are unopened, camping supplies, these sorts of things are always absolutely huge. And most of our shelters would accept those 24/7 and can get you a donation receipt right at the desk. Things like hygiene kits are a fun group project and way to get folks involved remotely, where you can just sort of like assemble little care kits. Also a great thing to do with groups of kids and things like that. They can make little notes to put in them. Love those. Yeah, so that is that. More importantly, we always love to stress to folks that regardless of whether you give or are able to give time or money to an organization like us, we always just encourage folks to show compassion to the neighbors that you see experiencing homelessness, because this is ubiquitous now, right? There is hardly a day that goes by where you are probably not going to walk past somebody in your area who is experiencing homelessness and is in crisis. And it is just always a good thing to remind yourself that we have no idea what led to them being on the street, but it's a good bet it involved some trauma. I don't think there's a single person that we serve who has not experienced trauma, and everybody is going to process that differently, and everybody's going to experience homelessness differently. But just to try and remember that, and to when you see somebody behaving in a way that maybe doesn't make sense with the situation, not think what is wrong with that person, but try to train your mind to think, I wonder what happened to them, that this is the way that they are comfortable behaving right now, because they are probably responding to a trauma that is, more in their head at that point. But one thing that we've learned is that a lot of our clients have grown to feel very, very invisible from their time on the street. And so I think that some of the best things that we can do to support our neighbors experiencing homelessness is to see them and interact. Just stop, make eye contact, and say hello will make a huge difference in somebody's day. When they don't just feel like they are completely invisible and being ignored by the people around them. It is also obviously always helpful to connect folks to resources. If you see somebody and you know that it's a super hot day and that there are cooling shelters open, you know that there is going to be snow and that there is a severe weather shelter open for that, make sure that you're taking the time to ask if they know about that. Even call 211 for them if they don't have access to a phone, to try and help them get access to those shelter sites. It takes a community to take care of everybody, and not everybody that we see experiencing homelessness has access to the technology to get those resources. So that can be a problem. And of course, keep in touch. If you'd like to learn more about what we're doing, we'd love it if you'd visit our website and sign up for our newsletter just to get monthly updates on what's going on. Our social media we keep populated with news about homelessness here in the area, work that we're doing, work that partner organizations are doing. And yeah, I will stop sharing and let you all ask me any questions that you have if you'd like. I swear I have lights on. I don't know why I look so dark right now. Anyway, well, thank you for giving me the floor. But if anybody has any questions about what we do, about homelessness in Portland, about anything at all, I would love to see what I can do to address them.
I just want to say you are effing amazing. And your program is amazing. I didn't know anything about it. So God bless you.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. And you do an awesome presentation.
Thank you, Lisa. I tried.
Yes, thank you, Emily. It did look, yeah, I really like the slideshow. Did you put that, you said somebody else put that together, or you did?
My amazing colleague, Kylie, our development communications assistant. Yeah, she did
Kylie
that.
did a great job on the pictures, and like, just very clean and crisp, and that's amazing.
I will let her know.
I have plenty of questions, but I'll open the floor to other people for the time being.
I had a question. Where is the Banfield? Is it the Banfield Hospital? Is that what you?
The Banfield Shelter Motel is in the former Banfield Value Inn, it's on 37th, just above 84. Across from Dress for Success and by like Director's Mortgage.
What neighborhood is that considered?
Hollywood?
Is that Hollywood? Oh, thank you, Phil.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
across from the old 7-Up building.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
That's what that is. The cool building with the round thing. I didn't know it was the 7-Up thing.
Okay. I know where it is now. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I will jump in then, Emily. Let's see here. Now you mentioned Barbara Mayer and Clark Annex are both sober housing. What is the, are all of the 8 shelters zero tolerance sober, or are any of them like harm reduction model or?
Yeah, 3, we have sort of 2 different kinds of shelter. 3 of them, essentially the 3 like longer term ones, you know, we've grown over the years. We went from 1 shelter to adding a women's program in 1997 and then another men's program in 1998. So Doreen's Place, Jean's Place, and the Clark Center are those 3 shelters that have been around for 20 plus years. Those 3 are clean and sober facilities. So for a long time, that's what we offered, shelters where we had a lot of expectations on the residents. You know, you came in and you committed to being clean and sober, and weekly case management meetings and working on overcoming all of those barriers, all good things that help you get to housing. But eventually, as this homelessness crisis grew around us in the last 10 years, we started to realize, not just as an organization, but as a community, that maybe we needed to look more towards the housing first model to try and create opportunities for the folks who weren't a good fit for that kind of shelter. Not everybody's ready to be sober tonight. Not everybody's ready to realistically start looking for a job tomorrow, but those things become a lot easier to think about once you are inside and safe and dry. So we started opening a lot more what we call emergency shelters that are lower barrier. So the other 5 shelters that we operate, Banfield included, do not kick people out if they are active in an addiction. We do certainly ask that folks are never bringing drugs or alcohol on site and are not using on site, but they would not be kicked out for an alcohol or drug violation in those sites. There are still wellness specialists there. There are still case managers, and there are still income development people. All the same supports are there. And what's kind of what we see happening is that it's become kind of a stepping stone, even though that's not necessarily what it was designed for. But we see a lot of folks move into those emergency shelters, stabilize, get to a point where they're ready to think about the sobriety and the next steps. And then they want to transition to one of those other facilities that is a clean and sober program, so that they're not around things that might be triggering for their recovery.
Indeed, and that is consistent with the research. That's great that you have that. Next, my question is about wait lists and availability for shelters. What's it looking like? I mean, I know that the cooling shelters just closed a couple days or 4 or 5 days ago, it feels like. And I know a lot of those folks kind of had to scramble. What is the population like? What's the wait list like on one of the shelters right now?
So not every shelter has a wait list. So the way that we operate it is that those 3, the high barrier shelters, have wait lists, and they can be as long as 3 to 4 months long sometimes. I'm not sure how many people that turns out to be, but that's about the real-time wait to get into one of those. The emergency shelters, they tend to have a higher turnover. A lot of those folks maybe find that even that shelter isn't a great fit, whatever. But so those, they would still need a reservation through our resource center, but most of those sites probably have an opening pop up each day.
Okay.
That's probably a little bit of an exaggeration, but on average, that's pretty normal. So most folks on the streets, if they are actively looking for shelter, they know that they can call into our resource center or show up at our resource center by noon, and that's when they make shelter or bed availability known and start filling those from people who have come to inquire about bed availability.
Cool. And are the emergency shelters a combination day use, or are they just for sleeping and you got to leave at 9?
All but one of our programs are 24/7 now, which is great.
That's super cool.
Yeah, some of them are facilities that we have been able to remodel and sort of make our own and add kitchens and appropriate sleeping areas and hygiene facilities. The one that is overnight only right now is in an empty county office building. That's the Walnut Park Shelter in Northeast Portland. So there we do have to vacate at 7:30 in the morning and folks come back in at 5 o'clock at night.
Cool. Sorry, Lars.
A quick question. So you talked about the three that have that higher barrier for the sober and clean. How do you, when there must be, when someone comes off the street, how do you handle when someone is having a medical, clearly there's a maybe someone with a severe medical condition where, then are the paramedics involved, or because you don't have medical, you don't provide medical services. So
yeah,
how do you deal with that?
So we don't have medical professionals on site, certainly. Yeah, we certainly are dealing with a medically vulnerable population. All of our staff within 30 days of hire are required to go to at least to be CPR and first aid certified. We have AEDs, first aid kits, and Narcan for opiate overdose at every single one of our facilities. But yes, there is definitely going to be a lot of either cabbing folks to urgent care or ERs, or if it seems emergent enough, calling an ambulance possibly.
And so I guess I'm piggybacking on top of that is when you have, I don't know how to best say it, unruly behavior that could be harmful or risk other people's safety. How do you deal with that? Because I know, when you have the lower barrier in those 5 places, I'm sure there must be confrontations that happen, and it's like, I know it's not like, hey, come in, everything is safe, because we know, you can't guarantee that.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that?
They definitely have a little more drama at them from time to time. Yeah, so another thing that all of our staff are required to do within 30 days is a full 8 hours of de-escalation training, which goes a long way. Luckily, a lot of our staff have been there a long time, have relationships with a lot of those clients, and sort of know what triggers and what will calm them back down. That said, yes, we do occasionally have to involve managers and or the police in instances like that. We actually just this year are laid out new guidelines, new behavior guidelines, and protocols for police calls, because we are really trying to minimize the amount that we have to call the police for that. It's traumatizing for everybody in the program. We don't want to have to go that way if we can avoid it. So we're trying a new way. In this past, I think it's been about 8 months since we rolled that out, and have greatly reduced the number of calls that we're making, which has been great. And a part of that is just sort of modifying our behavior expectations. Maybe that person gets to stay the night if they can calm down and go to their bunk quietly. And then they will talk to the manager in the morning about what happens based on their behavior or something, So we are trying to become a little bit more flexible to avoid it getting to that point. We are definitely enthusiastic about the spreading of Portland's street response, because we know that one of the best tools that we have in our box right now is the shelter behavioral health team operated by Cascadia. They will
That's
come.
me.
Oh, excellent. Well, we love that.
Yes.
And
do you interact with the shelter team?
I don't as much as I would like, though. I've met some folks over at the Willamette Center when they were working in the back office there.
Cool. But yeah,
I'm more a desk person.
Yeah, I work with Cascadia Behavioral Healthcare with Project Respond. We have a emergency department team, we have the mobile crisis response, and then we have the shelter behavioral health team, which Emily references. There are about 4 or 5 folks who go out. They have kind of like office hours at a lot of the different shelters, and will also respond as needed on occasion to these escalated situations that Lars brings up. And in the case that it escalates further, they can call out our mobile crisis team. We'll go in a team of 2 clinicians, and with or without police, ideally without for most situations, and then try to get someone a safety plan. And I can give a whole presentation on that at another time.
Yeah, well, thank you for the work that you are doing too then, CJ.
Yes, thank you, Emily. And I have a couple other questions about eligibility stuff.
Yeah.
You said you don't have children, so there's no like family shelters through TPI.
No, we would refer to Human Solutions, Portland Homeless Family Solutions, or one of the smaller West Side sites.
Cool. And then how many how many showers you got working with at the one across from the Greyhound station?
The Resource Center has 5 showers, 3 restrooms,
Okay.
5 showers, 6 laundry setups.
What's the wait time like on those 5 showers? Because I know the one at Greyhound they have 1 shower, so it's consistently full.
Yeah.
And do you have to be enrolled in transition projects to use those showers?
Enrolling in transition projects is as simple as coming in one time and they print you an ID card. So that's not a barrier at all. I think, and I will have to double check this. If you are curious, I would hit me up via email. I can check on with our resource center manager. At least the last time I knew exactly what their protocols were, it was you wanted to be there at 8 a.m. or you wanted to be there at noon, because that's when they do the 2 signups for the day and the slots fill for the next quarter.
Okay, that is consistent.
Yeah.
And that's something that we might want to talk about as a neighborhood association at some point. It's something that Sunnyside does, is they actually do some they provide showers.
Do they bring the mobile units?
Yeah, who are living unhoused in the Sunnyside neighborhood. So that's something to talk about. We're talking from. Do you have restrictions on people with sex offender history?
We do not.
And then do you have restrictions on people with an arson history?
Not to my knowledge, no.
That's great. Do you have any queer specific or people of color specific shelters?
No shelters that are specific for people of color or for the LGBTQ community, but we do have a housing grant specific to trans individuals.
Okay.
The Compass program that we operate has some housing dollars for folks who are trans.
Have you been able to tour the Bybee Lakes Hope Center yet?
I haven't.
Oh, you gotta
I'm
go.
really curious.
You gotta. I did that. It's a trip. I'm happy to talk about it with everyone as well at some point.
Yeah.
But
I would love to see what they've done with the prison. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's still a prison. In any case, I'll open the floor again to other questions.
Okay.
You went mute, Emily.
No, I just think I wasn't talking, but thank you. Any other questions? No.
Yeah. What other what are our sort of future plans? Like, do you have any expansion plans or projects you're trying to undertake?
None that I know of at the second. Right now, it kind of feels like every day is just crisis management, as I'm sure it does in a lot of other people's worlds. We actually do. So right now I mentioned we were an 8-shelter program. We actually are supposed to have a 9th, but there was one that we actually had to close and leave because of facility issues about 6-8 months ago. So if there's any expansion in the works, I hope it would be just finding a replacement site for that SOS shelter, which was a women's program in Old Town that we had to close. And I dream of getting those 70 beds for women back soon. And other than that, our next step would just be hopefully getting back to a point where we can fill our shelters again, because right now, as with most other shelter programs, we are at half capacity because of COVID to allow for better, safer physical distancing in those sites.
Right.
So are you grant funded for the most part, or you do the fundraising and all that kind of stuff, but is it government funded or?
It's actually about 87% government funding. Yes, we're one of the largest contractors with the Joint Office of Homeless Services for those shelter programs. So most of the budgets of shelter and resource center are covered from contracts through that. We also get some federal funding primarily for our veterans programs. The other 13% is largely that development piece, fundraising that allows us to do that street outreach program that allows for all of our health and wellness and employment programming. And a lot of those other extras that aren't just roof and a bed,
right,
basically, are what we fundraise for.
Nice. I'd be all for that. That'd be awesome. Doing some fundraising.
Oh yeah. And then I know we're a little, well, we're not super over time, but I did want to ask, since in the interest of you're at the North Tabor Neighborhood Association meeting, I wanted at least to bring up one of our local resources, the North Star Clubhouse. Are you familiar with them?
I am not.
Robert, do you want to give the little summary since I know that your wife's
Yeah, I can say a little bit. My wife for a while was on the board and she is involved with that. There's a national model called the clubhouse model. It's for people with, not for unhoused people necessarily, but for people with mental health problems. It's not clinical at all, but people who need a safe place to go, and there's employment, counseling, and that sort of thing. And it's a system, it's run by the members with minimal staff. North Star Clubhouse, it's at 56th and Gleason. Should you be in the neighborhood and you want to stop by, talk to Liz, she's the director there. In some cities, in St. Louis and in New York and some big cities in the Midwest and East, it's quite a large organization, own their own building, have very extensive programs. Here it's pretty minimal. I think there's one other in Oregon, maybe in Eugene, but I'd urge you to stop by. Some of the clients there are in fact without housing, and they can come in there during the day and get some assistance. But yeah, since it's in our neighborhood, you should stop by. Introduce yourself to Liz.
I kind of can't believe I haven't heard of that. Yeah, thank you for sharing.
I hadn't heard of it either, but then Robert, what's your wife's name, Robert?
Candace.
Candace Jordan. Candace told me about it, and I went and checked it out. Months ago now. But yeah, they have they have a lot of community buy-in. Very kind people. Liz, who you mentioned, is very on top of everything. And yeah, it's a day, not a program necessarily. It's whatever they come up with, but it's got a lot of a family kind of community feel. And it's a great opportunity for people who are trying to fill their day with something that's not people who are trying to find a different community than the ones that they're currently involved with, which I know is a lot of people who are living in the street right now and forever. So yeah,
actually, one thing that it just occurs to me, they have a culinary program there, and they have a smallish but still above a home kitchen level cooking facility, and they have a small dining facility where the members would eat and prepare their own meals. You might want to talk to Liz. There might be some kind of collaboration with them providing.
Maybe they want to feed a shelter. I love it.
Kind of collaboration back and forth. So that's just something that occurred to me since you mentioned the food issue.
Yeah, because they make pretty good meals. I mean, they have some budget. I think they have some budgeting through. Did they get that new narratives money?
I don't know. They have some money from Multnomah County.
Yeah.
And they do some of their own fundraising. They're right now. I know we're getting off track here from our meeting, but their fiscal sponsor used to be called Luke'dorf, but now it's got the new what
new narratives.
New narratives. Anyway, so it's a larger organization. For now, at least, they are. That's their fiscal sponsor. I think they were with NAMI. Or NAMI, I guess it's pronounced, before National Association for Mental Illness. So by all means, you or somebody from Transition Projects ought to stop by there and talk to them.
Yeah, and if you want more info, you're already on an email thread with me. Feel free to pop anything in there and I can connect you.
Cool. Thank you. Good tip.
Anybody else have a burning question before Emily leaves us?
That was a great presentation.
Thank you for being there.
Thank you all.
Okay, everyone can clap. Great job, Emily.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for letting me have the floor for so long, and for all of your awesome questions, comments, and suggestions. It's been a real pleasure.
Appreciate you. We will be in contact soon.
Have a great night, everybody.
Bye. Very
wow. That was something.
I know she'd be able to get a lot in a little amount of time. That's like
yeah. She's really good, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Very impressive, and I'm so glad to know about that. I had no idea.
Oh yeah, we've got there's transition projects, and then they mentioned Human Solutions, and then Multnomah County has something called Do Good Multnomah, which they run a couple of shelters. I mentioned the Greyhound shelter. It's technically the downtown shelter. They converted the Greyhound station
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. Okay.
It's a weird shelter because it's very much a bus station.
Yeah, it
But
it
with
was a
people-
weird bus station. So
I mean, we had a lot of weird shelters this year. They converted the old, I think a Kmart in North Portland, they converted to a shelter, and the convention center was doing a lot of duty as a cooling shelter. It's just a lot.
yeah, that is a lot. But thank God they're utilizing the space.
So
Yeah.
how long is this a Greyhound? I used to work at Greyhound. I used to manage that terminal. So when did this happen?
Oh my God.
So, feels like it would have been around pandemic time. I think a year and a half or two ago, when there was such a need for more spacing and expansion, because there was more people outside, and then there was everybody, jails, shelters, any kind of like interior space, they had to move people out and move them apart from each other for pandemic reasons.
So did they move the terminal? So there's no train Greyhound station in Portland then?
Not that I know. I don't know what happens with the buses.
Interesting.
Yeah, all I know is that whole area is all it's all shelter now. It has a big gate around it, and there's like one little labyrinth hallway to get into the shelter, and there's people at the door who like ring you in.
Okay.
Weird.
Yeah.
I think it went to the Bolt bus, Lars.
Oh, I do love the Bolt bus.
I think most people take the Bolt bus now.
It's just so cheap.
Yes, it's awesome.
Okay. Oh, Julie, you had your hand up. Or Jewel, sorry.
Yeah, I was just wondering, did we get her presentation from her?
I can get that if you'd like it.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of really good resources and links in there. It would be nice to have.
Yeah, I'd like a copy of it too. Absolutely. I mean, I know this is being recorded, but if you have the PowerPoint slide, that'd be great.
I will share the slides with you all.
That would be awesome. I have a quick question. She mentioned or maybe you were talking about it, taking a tour of the Bybee something.
Oh yes, this is called. It's now. Are you familiar with the Bybee Lakes, like the Bybee wetlands area, which is kind of like North Portland? There's I don't know how to describe exactly where it is. Somebody who's lived in Portland longer than 12 years can.
So about I-5 and Columbia Boulevard, and it's the west side of I-5.
Oh, okay. No, I'm not familiar with it.
There's a couple.
I've lived here all my life. I don't know half of the stuff.
There's Smith and Bybee Lakes are a couple of lakes with a little forest around them, and then west of there is headed towards St. John's is where this is.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll give it very quick. And then Patty, before I continue, Patty, did you need how much time do you think your slow lanes? Because if I didn't want to talk over that too much.
I just wanted to show the graphics and explain what's going on. So I know Kim and Lars will be quite excited about it if they don't already know. So.
Oh, okay, then.
Yeah.
I'll try to.
Else.
And we'll wrap this up in the next minute or so. But I'll give the very quick summary, Lisa, is that I don't know exactly who is funding or how, but I know that they're building the Wapato. I don't know the
Wapato prison.
The Wapato prison, which never got completed.
Never. It got built, but it was never filled.
Never filled. It kind of sat there for a while, and then some from an organization called Helping Hands, who run a series of large, mostly getting people who are involved in substance use sober and working again. That's kind of their MO.
Yeah.
They took it over. They got a big sum of money from Jordan Schnitzer, I believe, as well as private donors and a lot of. They're essentially they converted it, or they're converting it. It's very much not converted into when it's completed, potentially a large shelter space for maybe 250 plus people, with a dog kennel and fruit trees and a garden and a women and children section and hire from within. And but it's right now when I went last, it was about 35 people. It's probably 40, and it's not people don't have individual cells. They have they have bunk beds behind in a large room.
I read a big article about it and saw a video actually of the people that were, and the guy is from Seaside that came up here, and he was doing like a, I don't want to say a Serenity Lane kind of thing, but it was a facility down in Seaside, and he's up here, and they were showing the construction, and it was bunk beds, and it was this and that. I was like, this is a really weird place. So I didn't quite get it.
Yeah. If you go through it, you know, the doors are all huge and locked behind you, and there's paint on the floor to mark where you're supposed to stand for your pocket checks. You know, it's still very much prison, and it's half completed, but they did take the bars off the windows, and they're working on making it a little homier. But it does have the issue of being very far out, very hard to, once you're in the building, if you don't know it very well, it's very hard to find your way out. And it is far out there, and the buses run. They stop running throughout the day. They run the morning and then the afternoon. They don't run on the weekends. So, and people don't generally have cars. So you're kind of trapped there unless you have some kind of transportation. So it's got downsides, but also for some people, it's exactly what they want. Like a place where they pay rent, where they're being pushed all the time to get out there and do this. People who have like motivation issues, people who are able to walk, and don't have that many mental health symptoms, and don't have, like, it's a good place for some people, and I'm happy to talk more about it. Oh, Jules, your hand is up again.
It is. So yeah, I've heard the stuff about it's still a prison. So I also have a friend though that works really closely with Street Roots, and I do hear that for the folks that have been able to use that facility, the fact that they can have an address, a dry place to sleep, a place to shower, they have had a lot of success rates just because it provides them some stability for a short period of time. And I think that's really what like overall, I know it's not convenient and it's not an ideal situation, but just being able to provide stability and a warm place to sleep, someplace to get your mail, like, is a huge value for those folks. So I know it's not perfect, but I still think that they have a tremendous success rate for the people that are going over there.
Yeah, for the people that, yeah, I think that's absolutely correct. I think the eligibility requirements are fairly high barrier, but for the people who do pass that, it's a great program for a certain kind of person, and it does have a lot of, I mean, unlike most of the shelters that we just talked about, which are converted bus stations and Kmart's, it was built to sustain 500 people. So if they get 250 people in there, that means showers, toilets, a huge kitchen, like industrial washers and dryers. So like a lot of potential. They're even thinking about putting a apartment building in the large acres of land they have, so that people can transition from the jail area or the prison area into like a single room apartment.
Nice.
A soft landing.
They've got a ton of acreage out there. I mean,
and a lot of ton of space.
And it's like, oh my gosh, they can do so much with that land. So good.
And a lot of money, and they're not. It's a what is it? Two something sword. I can't remember the expression. Double-edged sword, but they're privately funded, so they're not held down by certain requirements. But also they're not held down by certain requirements. So they're able to do things that a lot of the other contracted shelters are not able to do, which is kind of fun. Anyhow, we can talk about that. I'd love to do another presentation at some point, and we can even bring some more people in, because there's so much going on. But
yeah.
But Patty, I'd love to hear about the slow lanes you called them, or slow streets?
Slow streets, yes.
And you wanted to, Keith, were you able to put up?
He's got an.
Yeah, I'll share the browser tab. I don't think the PDFs are going to work because it's an interactive map. So I'll share the browser tab. There we go. Can everyone see that okay?
Yeah.
So that's the one that shows specifically our neighborhood. If you can see, so these are the concrete barriers they're going to put in the streets. Those blue boxes right there. And the first one starts at 72nd and Burnside. and then it goes over and it goes down Davis Street to 60th, where there's another one, and then it goes around and makes that little turn, and there's going to be one on 58th right there.
What the hell?
And then
Are you
and then
kidding?
and then it's going to go down. There'll be another one at Everett. So those are concrete barriers that are going to make people drive slowly around them. The other one that's going to
I
be really
see.
good, really good for our neighborhood is going to be another one is one on Flanders. So when people decide that they want to actually use Flanders instead of Everett as their cut through, they're still going to have to go around that one. And then right across the freeway, there's another one going north to on 53rd to Halsey, where there's another one right at Halsey too. So that street, which is supposed to be a greenway right now, gets used as a cut through quite frequently for Providence Hospital. And Everett is used quite frequently as a cut through street too. So in the meantime, right now they're putting up bumps in the street, and they've got them all the way up to, they're going to start tomorrow down here on 56th. So they've got them from Everett to 56th. Then they're going to go all the way to 60th for the street bumps. And then they're going to go all the way up Kim Street, and every street has one right before the stop sign, all the way up to the top.
You know, I'd like to know more about it because I do like the idea of them slowing down, but what they have right now, those orange tall things, they're actually kind of dangerous because when you turn, if you have we have a trailer, they're very difficult to maneuver around. And
right. Those are the ones that are going to get replaced with the concrete barriers. They're round. You can look on the website. Keith, do you have that website? Is it PBOT?
Patty, do you know how big those barriers are?
I don't. They're probably going to be at least as big around as the barrels that they've got there.
Yeah, I don't. Those are dangerous.
They already have some installed. One is, if you want to see one, there's a fairly large one down on 20th and Salmon. I don't know that they're going to be that large. I really don't. But there's one down there.
Because I think speed bumps would be good. You know, originally, many years ago, when they made Davis a bike path, they had the funding for speed bumps. And then they decided, oh, well, we don't need them.
Kim, they're doing that right now. They're doing that right now today as we work. Tomorrow, probably, what's today? Probably by the end of the week, they're going to be coming up your street.
For speed bumps, I'd be fine. I think those round things are unsafe.
I mean, because there's already a stop sign at 60th. Is this to what they think?
Deter people from turning off of 60th and using Davis as a cut through to avoid Burnside and Gleason is basically what it is.
I like the idea. I just hope that it's not more dangerous. That's my concern.
I don't know. I mean, my take on it basically is that, they think they want, basically get rid of cars because speed is not the problem. The drivers are the problem. I mean, and
you can't get rid of the drivers.
Yeah. So we have to change driver behavior.
I agree. Yeah. No, they're just going to find another side street. It's not going to do anything. We're just going to have a bunch of cement barriers everywhere.
Well, I would say that first, these do not look like, they're not so permanent that they couldn't be removed. They're basically, if you imagine a section of concrete, like sewer pipe or something that's like maybe 5 feet in diameter, one section that's maybe 3 feet tall, stuck not in the middle of the busy street, and it'll have just a sign in it. I don't think they're going to be planted or anything.
And Jules posted the pictures if you'd like to see them.
Yeah, and there are some already installed.
Thank you, Jules.
So we hope that it's going to work, and if not, they can probably alter the way they're placed in the intersection. But the speed bumps are going in right now. The one will be put in front of my house tomorrow, I'm quite sure.
Yep. There you have.
That would be nice. Those would be
There's
nice.
one there. Okay, so there's a picture.
And Jules, I see your hands up. Thank you for being so patient.
So I forget how many years ago now. It's not been that many, but we got speed bumps on 53rd. Did not slow people down at all. zero slowdown. If anything, they go faster.
It just pisses people off is all it does.
It really does.
And
So
then they drive even more erratic and go down more side streets.
Yeah. So I think having a blocker for these main intersections, I think will be of value because it will deter people, especially crazy drivers at night, cruising through the side streets, trying to get around things. I think it will really deter that. So
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
It's
I
just,
mean, either that or
looking at it, it just looks huge. And I've seen a lot of near accidents.
I was going to say, there's going to be a lot more accidents.
There will
I
be
hope
more
not.
accidents.
yeah, they're going to be bumper cars.
I hope not.
Yeah. Oh God.
I don't know.
So I have a question then on back to the map. So there's one. So I was interpreting it as, you know, the one here up on 53rd and
Flanders.
So
Yeah.
they're going to put one there.
Right. You know, there's been an orange barrel
That
there
cone there forever.
Right.
But they're not going to put one off. Like we really need one off of Burnside coming on the 53rd. That's the problem.
Even though nobody's supposed to turn on there, they'll cut through the Tabor Tavern and go down that way.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad they're putting it there at Flanders Street because, yeah, although I've seen people now recently cutting down Flanders Street, which is about half a car length to get through. So I don't know.
Gosh.
I'm really thankful they're putting them on 53rd going north for sure. And you know, who knows, maybe we can get another one at Burnside.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm interested to see, because this is my bike path that I take to work twice a day. I'm not used to encountering a lot of cars.
I am.
I will be interested to see what it looks like once they're in, to see if it changes at all my commutes.
Well, I just rode down today and encountered the 5 that they've put in so far on Everett Street. And it has the bikes go in the middle of the street to take because there's a divot in each side. So the cars have to slow down because you go through there and then you can pull over a little bit and let them by. But it's forcing the bikes to go where they need to be. So I think CJ, you're going to find it a lot better so far. And hopefully those barriers will help, because I don't know about you, but I have people coming up behind me on my bike, getting me roaring around me or wanting to roar around me when it's not safe for them to pass. So they get mad if I don't pull over, but I pull over only when I know it's safe for them to pass. So
yeah, what I like, especially on, is it on, what's the one street off on Ankeny, where they have sort of, it's like a roundabout, but it isn't.
Oh yeah.
I wonder if they had looked at those, you know, or sort of like a big thing where you have to go slow. And
they have those all over at Fremont Drive. If you take Fremont Drive off of 92nd, they have like, because my sister lives over by Rocky View, and they have like 3 or 4 of them, and it does slow traffic down at the intersections.
And that I would think, I don't know, we'll see what happens, right? I think these things will be more like, hey, see if I can just not hit it, as opposed to actually having to slow down to go around.
It could be possibly what they're doing is they're going to see if it does, and if it doesn't, then they can remove them. That's why I think they're not looking at a permanent.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Make them bigger.
I'm wondering or make them bigger. We're wondering what's going to happen in the pocket, because with more traffic now, we get a lot of people that zoom down 63rd from Gleason to cut over to 60th to get around 60th and Gleason intersection when that backs up, especially when the 84 backs up and it backs up all the way up Gleason. They jump down in here, even though we have a stop sign one way, and then they tear up Oregon, which is not really, there's no sidewalks, and it's it's like a county unimproved road. Single car, even though it says it's a 2-car, there's only pavement for a single car, gravel on each side. And then they zoom up and then they turn and make a right on to 60th to head to Halsey. So we haven't heard much what's going to happen, or what they'll do is they'll cut through and go over by JDH to 67th, zoom up 67th to get on Halsey and heading east.
Well, Sarah,
So-
it is a concern all over the neighborhood. The 60
Oh, yeah.
intersection is a huge one.
Mhm.
This all the way from, you can look up the hill and see them all the way from Stark backed up. So
Oh, yeah.
about the freeway entrance, and we do talk about that in the transportation work group with Providence. We haven't gotten up this far yet, but it has been brought up to look at this 60th intersection. Not that there's anything going to happen. But,
Right. Right. It's, I haven't heard much about the Halsey redesign that they're talking about. And then they're going to, and I believe there's money to develop 60th from Halsey to the overpass, because those are not wide enough sidewalks
right
on either side. And so
Right.
they're talking about redoing all of that.
That's
So
been in the works for a while, hasn't it? Patty, I remember
Yeah,
you
it's-
talking about it several months ago.
Yeah, it's been in the works. I don't know where they're at with it right now, to be honest.
Let me jump in for a second, Jules. I see you have your hand up again.
Yeah, no, so sorry. Couple questions on you guys about that. I just wanted to circle back. We talked last month about doing some kind of cleanup projects. And I was wondering, especially the ramp onto 84 is really, really gross. And I'm wondering if we would like to try to get some folks together and maybe do some kind of a solve project or some kind of neighborhood cleanup around that around the ramp.
Can we point to that on the map?
Yeah, it's where
Talking about
84.
Willow? We're talking about Willow?
You're talking about the eastbound or westbound? The one with the tunnel?
The westbound.
Westbound.
Oh, westbound,
We're
yeah.
talking about the 58th ramp onto westbound 84 where you go through the tunnel. There's been a lot of garbage collecting under
There's a
there.
ton of garbage. It's gross.
So the things, and it may be possible to do something. I do notice that a few months ago it was getting bad, and then all of a sudden one day it was completely clean, and it's gotten bad again over the couple months after that. It's possible they even take street sweepers or something through there. And just keeping in mind that anything to do with an interstate highway ramp is automatically under the domain of ODOT and not of the city. So that,
Okay, well, I just thought I would bring it up because I was
Yeah,
on there, like, we were
Yeah.
looking,
Jules.
again to try to get, if we can clean up the neighborhood somewhere, I think that would be a good place to start. And if we
Yeah.
can't actually clean up the highway, can we clean up the area around it? Because everything gets blown up over to the sides anyway.
Right.
So, and especially kind of on, where that is right there.
So you're
So,
talking about the sidewalks, because that's as far as we could go without the city shutting off traffic or.
My son
Right.
does, he goes on walks at least once or twice a week, and he takes a garbage sack with him. And we used to do this back before COVID, and we'd just go for walks around over by Lloyd Center and pick up trash, the two of us. But he's been still doing that. And I wonder if we could do something with the city,
yeah.
like a, you know how they have those doggy bags at parks and things that people can pick up and take their dog waste. If we could do something where they could have like larger dog bags that people could pick up waste. Yeah, I mean, not waste, you know what I mean? Garbage. but I mean, because
The
my
human
son-
waste kit. Yeah.
I didn't mean that. But I mean, the thing is, our city has gotten so full of garbage in the last 4 years. It's unbelievable. And I wonder if a lot of people would do it if they had, we usually wear gloves and then go. But I mean, maybe we could do a community thing too. I just wonder if we could do something with the city that would.
Yeah, well, I guess I would encourage us to see, so, okay, what are the restrictions? Do we know what the restrictions are? And do we want to try to organize a group together to get after it? In terms of, North Tabor Neighborhood Association, come help us pick up around the interstate.
Right.
Again, just kind of some kind of activity, I think was just my thought.
Yeah, it's great. And what are they going to do? We're going to get in trouble for picking up garbage, really?
Yeah, I don't think.
Honestly.
I
I think ODOT would prefer that they didn't have to do anything.
Yeah, I will agree with Lisa. I think that there is I think everyone can appreciate a roaming band of cleaning
Sure.
association
There's
people
just-
with their little orange vests and whatever.
Yeah, there you
Yeah, there are safety issues and signage that would have to be put up if people were going to go onto the on ramps.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's
I don't think we could do that.
No, I don't think we
We're
should
not
do
gonna-
that.
But I mean, but like Jill said, on the side, where everything like blows up. I'm not exactly sure how we'd access that down the side. It'd be behind those apartment buildings.
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
we would have to talk to the owners of the building or whatever
the
and get
building, yeah.
permission to go back there. But I mean,
Get
that's something
permission.
within our wheelhouse that we could do, I would think.
The
My other question that I have is so my corners are all marked up and I cannot find online anywhere, or have I gotten notification of what they're going to be doing? It looks like,
games, they're marking the ground with.
yeah, I think it sounds like what they're going to, what I'm assuming they're going to do is I'm going to I have a bunch of old curbs. So they're going to make it, accessible curbs.
Right, disability accessible.
Yeah. But I can't find anywhere online to see what the date is, who I talked to, that kind of thing. And I was wondering if you guys have any tips for me to track that information down.
The only tip I can tell you, because they have done several of them right around my house, is that the coordination between the surveying crew and the actual construction crew is not very strong, and it's typically several months after they.
Yeah, that's what I figured. But again, I would like to kind of know, because I'm on the corner and they're doing my corner, and my big tree is.
Yeah, you should get a letter. They usually send a letter out.
I know, that's what I was expecting them to.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen one yet.
To let you know. Yeah. Oh, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's like right there. So.
But
not to be pushy, but by chance, could we wrap it up? Because my husband had to go into work, and I have a kid upstairs watching just TV right now, which I need.
Your kid watching?
No, but she needs to get. I need to get her into bed, so we don't have a grumpy
Sarah,
kid.
Sarah, if you feel motivated to maybe make a motion to adjourn, and then I'm happy to stay on the line. People can talk a little bit more about this or that.
I just don't want to be pushy, but it's getting to bedtime at our house, and I need to
totally
going.
appreciate it, Sarah. I know we could probably yak all night about 6 million
So
different.
I would love to adjourn the meeting, and then you guys can continue a conversation after I log off.
All right, I have a motion. There's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone in opposition?
Too bad.
I think we have to ask about abstain. Okay, then motion carried.
Thanks, guys. I'll get this out, and if you have any corrections, just let me know, or if I missed something.